Amen. You guys can have a seat.
I don't know what you sounded like up there, but you sounded good back here. Did you sound good up there?
Yeah.
Awesome. Good. Do I not have any notes? Yeah, there's notes. I don't know. My wife is the orchestrated genius behind all that stuff. She is the master of pro presenter. I know nothing of any of it, to tell you the truth, because she is the one that makes it all happen. She asked me once if I wanted to learn pro presenter, and I said no, because I have so much other stuff to keep up with that I didn't want to mess with it. Does that make me terrible? Can you get too much? Yes, you can. Too much of just everything to do and keep up with. If I told you all the duties that we do here at the church, you'd be like, what? But as you can see, the title for tonight is In the Middle. And so we're going to do some things that are a little different tonight, because how many of you love different? How many of you fear change? I don't want change. Okay, I mean, how many of you, do your families rearrange the furniture in the living room to make it feel like they have a new house? Anybody? You leave the furniture the same way, never move it, it stays in the same spot. It's fun to move stuff. We would move our beds in our bedrooms when we were kids just to feel like we had this new bedroom or whatever. It was just a thing, I guess. So, too much stuff to move, yes. I'm not going to talk about my children's bedrooms. So, Joe has bunk beds. I hope to one day this coming year to buy him a real normal sized bed. That way he doesn't have a bunk bed anymore. Because I don't know, what age do you outgrow bunk beds? Never. Never? Bunk beds forever?
Still sleeping.
Right. So when Joe decides to move in with his best friend when he moves out of the house, they'll have just bunk beds. Grayson's like, no, we're not. But anyway. We are going to be looking at two twins. Ooh. Now, they're twin brothers, but you wish you had a twin brother. Joe often wishes he had a brother so he could play Fortnite with him at home and everything else. But how many of you know a story about a guy named Jacob? Old Testament. We're going all the way back to Genesis. Do you know where that is in the Bible? The first book of the Bible, just testing you out. In the beginning is the first line, yes. So we're going to be looking at Jacob. We're going to be looking at his brother. Kudos if you know his brother's name. Starts with an E. E. Esau. I just watched like charades. Did you get it? Did you get my Esau? E. So we're like binoculars, trying to go for that, trying to like this, and then we went to the handsaw. So we had Esau, and so I've got all the goofiness out of the way. But we're going to look at some things about them, but we want to look at the next few weeks, we're going to be looking at some stuff of people that are in the middle. We often talk about your before, and we often talk about a lot of people's after, but is there some stuff in the middle? Yes, everybody has stuff in the middle in life, okay? Boys, I'm going to tell you right now, when you see this girl out and about and you ask her out and she's all pretty and has this makeup on and everything, do you think she just gets out of bed that way? Yeah. Now, if you have a wife like mine, it doesn't wear a lot of makeup, and I'm thankful for that because she doesn't need a lot of makeup because you just can't buy that kind of beauty in a bottle. But she is my righteous fox. So, anyway, we want to make sure that you understand, boys, that process that got them to look that way, where you seen them out, and when she walked into the room and just glitter was everywhere, and just these hearts were popping up everywhere, and you were all warm inside. That didn't happen right off the bat. There's a process. So when you go pick a girl up for a date, do you think she just woke up with all that? Some of you girls will be like, I ain't worrying, he's gonna get what he gets, and that ain't nothing. But Not all of you probably wear a ton of makeup. Maybe, I don't know your process. But is there steps in the morning you take before you go out the door?
Yes.
I mean,
You brush your teeth.
you brush your teeth, you comb your hair, you know, try to look halfway presentable, right? I mean, it's youth groups, we're relaxed and kind of bummish in the room. But if we were going to be, girls, if we were going to be going where there were a bunch of cute boys that you were interested in, would it change the way, you can lie to me right now in youth group and it's bad. You're just not lying church, okay? You are going to try and make yourself catchable. Because they are fishing, right? Yes, you are like a strutting turkey out there. Yeah, do you know why the Tom puts his fan out and everything and his old head changes colors and all that? He's like, hey baby, look at me. And just birds are the opposite, because which ones are prettier?
The male.
The males are prettier, you know, and so the girls are just kind of, I'm going to quit before I get in trouble. So we're going to be looking at Esau, or Jacob and Esau's relationship, and we're going to cover most of it in a very speedy way. Is that okay? It's okay? Okay. We are going to look at, though, we're going to look at the middle first, because how many of you are wrestling fans? Anybody love to watch wrestling? Do you have, it's so-so? In my day and time, I mean, wrestling was a big deal. I was a Hulk Hogan fan. I was really a Randy Macho Man Savage fan. He's dead. But, that's sad. But he was really good. I'm not going to try and impersonate him up here, even though I want to really bad. But Hulk Hogan is still going strong. Matter of fact, he was on the Republican Party thing the other night, ripping his shirt off, doing his thing. Dwayne Johnson, if you like The Rock, he was a wrestler before. His dad was a wrestler, all that stuff. And how many of you believe that wrestling is real? And Santa Claus and Easter bunnies are too, okay? And I just really squashed the dreams of a lot of people.
I've got a move put on me for calling wrestling not real.
Like a move, like
Like
hey, beautiful,
wrestling
you must be an angel. You fell from
No.
heaven. Not that kind of move.
I'll go to Jackie Simmons' house and watch wrestling, and I'll be like, y'all are so dumb. This is fake. It's unreal.
Well, they still get injured.
Let me tell you something. That was not fun. I never.
But anyway, it's not. We are going to be looking at a wrestling match tonight. Do you know who Jacob wrestled with?
God.
There's different translations say an angel. Some say God. It's God.
Angel of the Lord.
Yeah, and ultimately he's wrestling with the forces of heaven. And so we're going to look in verse 22 in Genesis 32, 22 through 32. It says, during the night, when? During the night, Jacob got up and took his 2 wives, his 2 servant wives, and 11 sons, and crossed the Jabbok River with them. After taking them to the other side, where'd he go? The other side. He sent over all his possessions. This left Jacob all alone in the camp. What was he? Alone. He was alone. And the man came and wrestled with him until dawn began to break. How long? All night. All night they wrestled. When the man saw that he would not win the match, he touched Jacob's hip and wrenched it out of its socket. Sound painful? I've had 2 shoulders roll out of socket. That's bad enough. Then the man said, let me go, for the dawn is breaking. But Jacob said, I will not let you go until you bless me. What is your name? The man asked. He replied, Jacob. Your name will no longer be Jacob. The man told him, from now on, you will be called Israel, because you have fought with God and with men and have won. Please tell me your name, Jacob said. Why do you want to know my name? The man replied. Then he blessed Jacob there. Jacob named the place Peniel, which means face of God, for he said, I have seen God face to face, yet my life has been spared. The sun was rising as Jacob left Peniel, and he was limping because of the injury of his hip. What was he doing? Limping. Even today, the people of Israel don't eat the tendon near the hip socket because of what happened that night when the man strained the tendon of Jacob's hip. So, did Jacob have some exciting stuff happen? Yes. He moves his family to the other side of the river, and we're going to get to why he moved his family to the other side of the river. But he come face to face with God at what time? At night. at night, and he wrestled with him till when? Till dawn. So when the sun starts to come up. So is this a long wrestling match? Okay, that's what I want you to hold on to. I want you to hold on when it was. I want you to hold on to who he was wrestling with, how long it lasted, and what injury he sustained, and what he looked like when he walked away. Is that a lot to hold on to? You can hold on to it, can't you? Yes, you can. Okay, so we're going to look at the before, because everybody has a before in life. Have anybody had some stuff happen to you, and there was a before it went on? Now, I've lived a little, so I've had a lot of befores. I remember life before children, okay? I remember life before marriage. I remember life before the job that I have. I remember the life before college. I remember the life before high school, life before middle school. I don't remember a whole lot of my life before elementary, other than I was probably playing in the dirt and picking my nose a lot, like little boys do. It's kind of disgusting, but that's just what it is. So, some of you have not lived a lot of life, but you've lived through some things already. And you're like, well, how many even feel like some of the stuff you've lived through so far is minuscule because you're just a teenager? Might not seem like a big deal to a lot of people, but is it a big deal to you at the time? Yes. Okay. So we're going to look at Jacob's before, which is in Genesis 25, 22 through 26. And we're going to be looking at what it was like for them in the womb. Now, I don't know if this is what you two, nobody else in the room has a twin that I know of. And so I don't know what it looked like for you two in the womb together, if there were some ultrasounds and who was beating up on who, or, you know, if you... I don't know if you came out with hair on your head, so I don't know if you were pulling each other's hair or anything like that. When Laura Jean was born, there was a baby that was born across the hallway from us that had as much hair as Toby when it came out. I'm just going to say exactly what you're seeing right there was on a baby's head. And so there was a lot of hair, and it weighed 12 pounds. Yeah, somebody said, ow. Okay, so anyway, it says, but the two children did what? They struggled with each other in her womb. So she went to ask the Lord about it. Why is this happening to me? She asked. And the Lord told her, the sons in your womb will become two nations. From the very beginning, the two nations will be rivals. One nation will be stronger than the other, and your older son will serve your younger son. And when the time came to give birth, Rebekah discovered that she did indeed have twins. The first one, now you have to understand, there was no ultrasounds. We're talking the beginning of man, accumulation of the earth, so there was no way of knowing who all was in there. And when the time came to give birth, Rebekah discovered she did indeed have twins. The first one was very red at birth and covered with thick hair like a fur coat. So they named him Esau. Then the other twin was born with his hand grasping Esau's heel. So they named him Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when the twins were born. Then the other twin was born with his hand grasping Esau's heel, so they named, why did that duplicate? Anyway, it's duplicated on mine. Isaac was 60 years old. Can you imagine having twin babies at 60 years old? I can't even talk my wife into one at 38 right now. And so I would love to have another one, but do you ever get to the point where you're like, I'm too old to have kids? Like, this is just getting out of hand. But were these two twins obviously in turmoil inside the womb? One was born with red, or come out just colored red. Now, I don't know if that's supposed to represent anger or anything like that, but what I hold on to is what they were holding on to, the heel of his foot. So obviously, were they wrestling inside the womb? Yes, there was some stuff going on. Now, I don't know, again, I don't know if you had her in a chokehold or she was, Lily was beating up Aiden in there. So there is some before stuff. So is there some things going on with Jacob and Esau? Yes. And so there's a lot more that goes with it, but you get to see where Jacob takes Esau's birthright. And when you're the oldest, you naturally got everything of wealth. You basically got the kingdom that your father had established. And so Jacob or Esau was looking forward to it. Long story short, Esau was a hunter. Esau was someone who went out and killed things. Jacob was a cook. And so Esau comes back from hunting, and he's really, really hungry. Now, he's not as smart as Stephen, who takes little Debbie snacks with him to go hunting. Has anybody ever been really hungry? like super hungry. Okay, he's so hungry, he's willing to give up all of his inheritance. Anybody that hungry? No. So Jacob is cooking when he's like, give me something to eat. And he goes, give me your birthright. So what is their relationship like? They're family, but is it a good relationship? No. I mean, what does it say for Jacob? Like, yeah, I've got food right here. I can help sustain you. I could be a good brother, but you know what? Nah, I want all your stuff. And so Esau goes, you can have it, and takes his bowl and eats and loses everything. So there is some tension between the brothers from that moment on. And so Jacob goes through a whole lot of stuff, and God is orchestrating all of this stuff to get to his plan that he ultimately had for his people. But did they have any idea what was going on? They did not. And so you've got some stuff that God is working in your life right now that seems like turmoil, seems like some broken relationships, seems like some things going on inside your head that you don't really care for, whether it be in school or at home or just like I said, in your own head. Nobody in here really knows where you are in the process of a lot of stuff that you're having to deal with right now. I don't know what everybody's house looks like when you get home. I don't know what your life at school is like when you get there. I don't know exactly what you're dealing with online, what people are texting you, what people are sending you on Facebook Messenger. I don't know what it was like for some of you when you went through a divorce in your house. I don't know a lot of the answers to everything, because do we really tell everybody everything that's going on in our life? No, but I've learned over the years that I have to, because there's a note still in the pocket of that bag that I'll never forget. It's still there, because it's willing to talk about some stuff that happened in my life. And so tonight, when we get done, I'm just going to tell you what's going to happen. Do you see that board over there with the notepads? Here's what I want you to be thinking about right now. What am I in the middle of? And I want you to write it on that piece of paper. Now, you don't have to. You don't have to write it, but there's a reason why I'm asking you to write it. Because do you believe that prayer works? Do you believe that support from other Christian friends is necessary in our walk as a Christian? Yes. Here's what I'd love for you to do. You don't sign your name to it. You write down what you're in the middle of, roll it up, stick it in that chicken wire. And at the end of class, what I want to do is I want us to take turns when we're dismissed. I want you to grab those things, find something, grab it, take it, pray over it. Pray for this person, because they're in the middle of something that's a big deal to them. And if it's a big deal to them, should it be a big deal to us? It should. Because there was an after that Jacob is trying to get to. He's trying to get to this spot in his life, but he doesn't know what it looks like. He doesn't know that God is about to gift him something. He thinks his brother is going to kill him. Because did he do his brother wrong? Yes. How many of you are guilty of putting thought bubbles over people's head that ain't there? How many of you are guilty of not going to someone because you're afraid of what the outcome might be? But we'll never know if we don't go, will we? And so Jacob is doing this. He is crossing this water. In Genesis 33, 1 through 4, it says, Jacob looked up and saw Esau coming with 400 men. Would that be frightening? Your brother that you've done wrong is coming with 400 men. So he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and his 2 servant wives. He's scattering because he has no idea what is about to go on. But he's tired of living this way. One of the most powerful moments I had this year in my life was to take my brother with me to the Gospel Advancing Summit in Berkeley. Me and my brother's relationship, ministry-wise, has exploded in the last two years together. Our relationship period has become so much. And I will tell you, I did some things against my brother in my early 20s that I would not forgive me for. I would not. And my friend, Chris Stout, from the stage, says, if you have any unspoken, any unresolved conflict with someone in your life right now, I want you to call them. I want you to text them. I want you to reconcile this with them right now, because this is a whole bunch of youth leaders. This is a whole bunch of leaders from across the world that are there. And he's like, we can't move forward as ministers if we don't get our own hearts right, if we don't reconcile our own stuff. And so I stopped. We were out there, and it was covered pavilion, had a bunch of fire pits going underneath it because it was cool out there, and there was worship music and everything ready to go on. And I was so blessed because I was able to just grab my brother and hug him, and I confessed everything to him. I did not know what the response was going to be. I had no idea. Love me, hate me, we're hundreds of miles from home, still going to have to stay the night with each other another night, and fly home with each other, and ride in a car from Tulsa all the way back with each other. But my brother did exactly what I expected him to, or I knew he would do, and the embrace that I was giving him got tighter from him. Everything was laid to rest. Everything was done and over. And Jacob saw 400 men coming at him, and he was scared. When Chris gave this call, it was like I saw 400 men coming with my brother. I was scared. But it needed to be done. I had thought about this stuff for years of how I should go to him and take care of this. Because this was not when I was following the Lord. I had no relationship with God whatsoever. And so I was taking advantage of him. I was doing all kinds of things against him. And he just kept loving me anyway. And when you don't know or realize how much God loves you, you won't understand why someone who does loves you anyway. When you understand why someone who follows Christ, who loves him, loves you regardless of everything that you've ever done to him, you won't understand it. You won't have any idea why they're loving you until you start to understand how much God loves you, how much you've turned your back on Jesus, and he still died for you anyway. One of the greatest moments in my life this year, and I think I'd be a failure if I didn't share that with you, because it was powerful in a relationship with my brother, able to wipe some things clean. It goes on, says he put the servants' wives and their children at the front, Leah and her children next, and Rachel and Joseph last. Now, if we put the little kids to the front, do we think things are going to go wrong? He is trying to set up a path. Here, take the kids. Take the kids, get them out of the way of the battle. Because back then, they would take your children and the women, and they'd put them off into some kind of safety. If they didn't have no beef with the women, they would move them. You ever heard the term women and children first? Here you go. Women and children first. Let's get them out of the way of harm. Who was it? Rachel and Joseph was last. Then Jacob went on ahead, and as he approached his brother, he bowed to the ground 7 times before him. How many times? 7. Is 7 a significant number in the Bible? Yes, it is the number of perfection. It is God's number. Okay? Then Esau ran to meet him and did what? He embraced him, threw his arms around his neck, kissed him, and they both wept. Here's what I want to ask you tonight. Can they see you walking in the middle of what you're in right now? We got to show them. Because here's what it looked like. Jacob named the place Peniel, which means face of God, for he said, I have seen God face to face, yet my life has been spared. The sun was rising as Jacob left Peniel, and he was limping because of the injury to his hip. He met God face to face. Was his life changed? Not only did his name change, what did he walk away with? A limp. He walked away with something people could see, because God wanted people to see there was a change in Jacob's life. A change started now. Jacob said, I will not let you go until you bless me. I am going to wrestle with you all night. And some people in this room have been wrestling with God more than one night. Been wrestling with God for a long time. I was that person, wrestling with the reconciliation with my brother. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to have the conversation because he had continually loved me over the years, regardless of all this stupid stuff I did over 30 years ago. So why did I think he wouldn't love me if I laid it all out in front of him? Why do we think God is not going to love us, is not going to forgive us, if we don't lay it all out in front of him? The world needs to see your limp. They need to know you've been through some things and that you're still moving, that God has changed you in that. You may not feel like God is working in your life in this, but he is. He was working for a bigger and better purpose. He was looking for a restoration. God is walking with you in the middle of stuff, and he's looking for a restoration in your life. You're going to go through some things. I'm just preparing you for life, for stuff you've already been through, and preparing you for life for things you're going to have happen. Because there are going to be some things where you're going to wrestle with God. You're going to wrestle with whether he's real or not. You're going to wrestle with whether he loves you or not. You're going to wrestle with, is he even here? Jacob wrestled with him all night. And he could have just pushed him away and walked away. But who held on to who? Was it the man holding on to Jacob, or was it Jacob holding on to the man? Jacob was holding on to the man. Jacob was the one not letting God go. I'm going to encourage you right now, don't let God go. God is working. Don't abandon him in what's happening in your life. Don't abandon him with what's going to happen this year at school, what's going to happen in a relationship, whether there's been a bad breakup, a divorce in your house. Don't abandon God. Hold on to him because he's still working in your life. There's a reason why he wrestled with him, started in the dark. Do you see some significance? What was it like? There's no pole lights. You're in the middle of the wilderness, and is it dark? It is dark. The wrestling match started in the darkness. When did God show up to meet Jacob? In the darkness, and wrestled with him all the way through all of the darkness that night. And when did he finally bless him? When the light started to show. That is when he blessed him. Not only did he change his name, he did something to him where people could see he had been changed by God. Has your name been changed? Can people call you Christian? Do people know that you've put your faith and trust in Jesus? Can they see the limp? Not from a bad thing, but from something where you've put sin to death. Will sin put a limp in your life? Yes, it marks you. But does it define you? No. God defined him, changed his name, said, Jacob, you will no longer be Jacob. You are going to be Israel. And what is the nation right now called that is God's people? Israel. Do you want people to see a change in you? Easier said than done, I know, when you're in the middle of it. But when you're in the middle, you choose whether you let go of him or you hold on to him. So here's what I want you to do. We're simply not going to break up into small groups tonight. I would love to. I'm not trying to rob my leaders of anything, but here's what I'd love for you to do. I'd love for the front row, first two, go grab the notepads. We need to take some time. All I've got is those two notepads. I need you to take them and pass them down. Okay, Toby, I want you to give yours to Grayson. Give yours to Grayson. Aiden, can you give that one to Toby? And so here's what we're going to do. You're going to take, please don't not write something down because you feel it's too stupid. Maybe it's the death of a family member that you're in the middle of, and you don't see God. Wherever it is right now, you don't feel God or see God, I want you to write that down. I want you to write that down and then pass the notepad down to the next person. Can you do that? Okay. Live streamers, we're going to let you go. I'm going to encourage you to do the same thing, but don't let God go, because he wants to change you, not for the worse, for the good, because he changed Jacob's life. And was Jacob able to walk into something that was so terrifying? Because he never let God go. If you know God is blessing you, I've loved it so much. When I came here to visit camp or LTC this year, if you knew Jesus was in the next room praying for you, would you be as scared of what you're dealing with? If you knew Christ was in my office right now praying for you, would you feel so defeated? Here's what I want you to understand. If you're here tonight, you've never put your faith and trust in Jesus, and you need your name to be changed from lost to Christian, don't walk out that door. The demons even know who Jesus is. Have you put your faith and trust in him? Go ahead, gentlemen. We're going to give you some time just to write it down, whatever it is.